Okay, and we are back for another powerful episode. And today we got a couple different topics we're going to go over, but I guess we certainly need to hit the terrifying new scheme of federal intrusion into states' rights, possible world takeover, possible state takeover, who knows? But Jade Helm 15. It sounds like a magic card. Sounds like some sort of spell or something from a Dungeons and Dragons tournament, but perhaps the truth is even more terrifying.
Yeah, I think there was a comic book called Jade Helm or something.
I wonder where they get these kind of names,
I have no idea how they come up with them. They're completely just bizarre, some of the names of these operations.
Is it the same way they pick storms or something like that? They have like this book, or they go by alphabetical
it could be
order or something like that.
Yeah. A couple years it'll be like Operation Pap Smear or something like that.
Yeah, and
Operation Corny Turd,
Corny Turd, yes.
Thanks for joining us, folks. This is False Flag Radio, ready for another stimulating conversation to awaken the intellect in our listeners. Today, as Mr. Revere alluded to, we're going to be talking about Jade Helm 15, this massive military operation that is going to be taking part in the American Southwest in 7 different states beginning in September. And the story about this just broke about a month ago, and it's really been picking up a lot of steam since then. So I figured we can't have a show about this sort of thing and not be talking about what could be the military, totalitarian takeover we've been hearing about for years. We're also going to be talking about Rand Paul's filibuster of the PATRIOT Act renewal, which went on for, what was it, 10 and a half hours yesterday?
A little bit over 10. I think it started at 1 o'clock or something, 1:20 in the afternoon. It ended a little bit before 12. So
yeah, damn.
Very long time, and I don't think you can leave the chambers. I don't think you can sit down.
See, he was holding it in. He was potentially holding in a pee for 10 and a half hours.
Or other things.
What if he drank a big gulp like right before he started? He's like, oh, fuck, he forgot, but he's already taken the floor. He can't relinquish it.
I wonder if he has a little piss bucket or something in the podium.
There's like a little catheter put in.
He did during the time I watched.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he talked for 10 hours.
Yeah.
There were other people, other speakers, or senators that could chime in and question him. So it gave him time to kind of relax.
Yeah. If someone wants to ask you a question, you still have the floor. Someone can request to ask a question without the speaker yielding the floor. And he's just like, I will not yield the floor, but yes, I'll take your questions. He just kept doing that for 10 and a half hours whenever he wasn't talking, which is pretty incredible. I think I was hoping personally for a record-breaking one. I was really hoping he could break Strom Thurmond's landmark 24-and-a-half-hour filibuster against the civil rights movement in 1957.
Which somehow got swept under the rug in these recent years.
Everyone just kind of forgot about that as time went on.
Isn't that incredible, though?
Yeah.
I mean, look, you got to... He was dedicated.
He was
driven.
God.
And he would not back down, and you have to admire a man like that.
I admire the fact that he was 100 years old and managed to not poop his pants during the daily proceedings in the Senate. That's if I have to pick something I admire about him, I guess it would be that.
Did he ever change his mind or make a formal statement about that event?
I think he did later.
Yeah,
later on, because there's no way.
What was he from? South Carolina, right?
I don't remember what state he was from. He was from the South. He was definitely from the South.
Yeah.
But I can't remember which state. I mean, we could look it up while we're talking. But why don't you break us down, what's going on with the Patriot Act right now, and what caused him to do this filibuster yesterday?
So in short, the Patriot Act is up for renewal, I guess,
Well, no, I think it's going to expire.
It's going to expire, but there's some talk of this. I guess the Section 215 is really what everybody's concerned about, and
that's what you hear.
That's basically the government, the NSA can collect phone calls and all of this type of phone information, and without any type of due process, without any type of court order.
It's the bulk collection.
Right. And now, obviously, that's gotten some people a little bit nervous, and rightfully so. But personally, that provision right there is probably one of the least scary items of the Patriot Act, and it's just one of many that should probably be let that basically expire. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of months, to see if they're going to try and let this thing come back.
Well, but based on what I understand of this, is that it's up for it's going to expire. Like sunset is the term they use.
June
1st.
Yeah.
So they have like 10 to 9 days now to come up with some kind of reform, or it's just going to go away, like completely.
Mm-hmm. And I don't see the NSA building shutting down.
Well, no. The NSA existed before the Patriot Act,
right, but not that big sweet building.
That
or is
I
it
don't
in Utah?
know. No. The Utah data center is new. That's
okay.
that they started building. We can talk about that, but that's some scary shit out there. But
yes.
The Patriot Act, the vote I think is on Saturday, or they at least wanted to have the vote on Saturday. I don't know if it's going to happen now because the filibuster delayed everything so much. They couldn't get anything done yesterday. But my understanding is that they proposed this reform called the Freedom Act, which on paper, not on paper, just in the media has been touted as this kind of solution that's gonna it's gonna keep us safe, but it's gonna take away all the bad stuff too. And upon closer examination, it doesn't appear to do any of that. It's just like a complete I'll borrow a term from John Oliver that he used last summer. Like it's not so much bullshit as it is repurposed bovine waste. It's it's the exact same thing with just slightly different wording. But they were not able to vote on it yesterday. So if this does expire, I mean in 9 days, the Patriot Act's done. Like
do you think that's actually going to happen?
Well, because the court ordered ordered that it is illegal. Like it's not the bulk. Phone collections are illegal. So that's like a talking point in the media that is not going away. Like as much as I just heard Marco Rubio today talking about how like this, the government is not listening to your phone calls.
Right.
It is simply not true. They're lying. No, you're lying, Senator Rubio.
An awful guy. And did you hear Chris Christie's comment too? This one's great.
Yeah.
You can't enjoy your civil liberties if you're in a coffin.
Yeah. Fuck you.
What a fat, stupid moron.
I'm surprised that guy's not in a coffin. Is he like 400 pounds?
I don't know. That's disgusting.
But I mean, it is. Sorry to interrupt. I'm disappointed in him because he's made such entertaining comments in the past that I've overlooked a lot of his douchery. But now it's just I can't let it go anymore. He's just an asshole.
He's an asshole. He's one of these new Republicans. He can bash the president and
well he's a pro-establishment politician, and they're the same in both the Democrats and the Republicans. They're two sides of the same coin. They're all the little acolytes and apparati of the deep state that just whatever. We'll keep the infrastructure of oppression in place as long as I get my little my little perch near the top of it.
Right.
I don't.
Look, is he a hatchet man for the New World Order? Probably not. He's not smart enough.
Yeah, he doesn't have
No.
that much of a sense of the big picture.
No,
he's not part of the
definitely not. He's a
grand
New
design.
Jersey moron, and
He is a pawn at best, a rook
yeah.
on the
Masonic
the grand Masonic chessboard of tyranny. No.
But
Yeah.
it's people like it's those new Republicans like we both talked about.
Yeah.
That are the scariest. Like you can have these Democrats that have the Dianne Feinsteins but really the people that scare me the most are the Chris Christies, the Marco Rubios, the Mitch McConnells.
Why is that?
Because they're actively tarnishing the Republican name, and they're turning it into this. If you're a Republican, you are a pro-military.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that they're just continuing what, like the George W. Bush and his cronies started doing in the early 2000s. I mean, that's not that what you're saying isn't true, but they're just continuing what began like 12 years ago.
Right. They're just it's these New Age Republicans and New Age Republicans.
They'll do Bikram yoga and
not like what
their
I'm
chambers. In the Congress. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Like they're
it's interesting that you could have a liberal Democrat like Dianne Feinstein be in the same corner as a Mitch McConnell or a Joe Lieberman or John McCain in this term.
I think what you're getting at is that traditionally the Republican Party, at least the image they've put forward, is that they're the party of small government, pro average Joe, like owns his little business,
right?
And the government minds its own business and doesn't meddle in everyone's affairs. That's the traditional position of the Republican Party. At least that's what they always said it was. And nowadays, you have the majority of the Republican leadership who is just completely complacent and participating with this massive surveillance state, which is a big government thing, which intrudes on your life, which is what they always said the Democrats and the leftist politicians espoused. But it's again, it's a dog and pony show. It's all one team.
They're all on one side.
There's this elaborate theater that's performed to give the voters. Yeah, it's for the more cerebral parts of the masses, this is their theater and entertainment. For the dumber ones, we have American Idol and fucking Orange is the New Fuck or whatever it's called, and
it's actually pretty funny. I saw it.
It has its moments, but it's just there's the whole like tranny storyline and everything. It's just weird. It gets weird sometimes. I'm like there's that character added nothing to this show. I don't know why I'm even saying that because that means I'm admitting to have watched enough episodes of that show to have gained a sense of the larger story.
I watched the first 2 seasons and they weren't bad, but they really weren't good either. But you just kept watching. It was convenient on Netflix.
Where I was living last summer when we used to watch it, my housemates used to watch it. It's not something I would go out of my way to watch. It's just it just happened to be on all the time, so I was catching it there. But back on topic.
You know what I was going to say?
What?
I think, and a lot of the senators touched on it, and Connecticut Senator Blumenthal actually made a couple interesting comments. He's for the surveillance state, no doubt.
Of course he is.
But he did say, or at least attempt to show that he wasn't for these clandestine courtrooms making the decision. He made some comments, and it was interesting coming from a Democrat saying that there should be an open door policy for this stuff. There shouldn't be these closed door courtrooms.
Yeah.
And they should be out in the open. So he's basically saying, yes, we should, trample on your Fourth Amendment rights, but we should do it out in the open instead of hiding it, which I guess is a step in the right direction, but still, it's kind of annoying to see that, you've got Dick Blumenthal, who basically wants another Star Chamber like group controlling what the government can do to your phone calls. Basically, it's just ridiculous.
Excuse me. Yeah. Wow. Fuck. Sorry, I inhaled some tea here.
You were choking on freedom.
I know. The air is saturated with liberty here in this studio, but we're just basking in it. But like, that's the real shady shit. Like the secret courtrooms, and it goes back to like this. There's so much of like what's going on with the government now and the media. It's just this. Like it's almost like they're not even trying anymore. Like it's just they're putting the minimal amount of effort into maintaining this facade that there's some semblance of oversight and like due process and everything. Like they're just telling you that stuff happens and you have to just accept it.
Right.
Like it's like, oh yeah, we have our own courtrooms. No, it's cool, bro. Don't worry about it. We have our own courts that rule on these things. A bit of a leap here, but same logic at work. We killed Bin Laden, but we're not going to show you any pictures.
We can't show you any pictures. Respect the religion of Islam, and we want to bury him within 12 hours.
We don't want the picture going on Facebook and having him tagged and turned into a martyr and inciting more people to join.
It's such bullshit.
Shut the fuck up.
It's also like the local police departments investigating themselves to see if they did any wrongdoing when murdering, young black people or young people regardless of what race they are, but still, it's we investigated ourselves and we've determined that we've done nothing wrong. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, but it's the same. I think this is a good place to begin talking about Jade Helm 15, because again, it's these stories come out. And then they do these mop-up operation, like PR statements, where they're just like, oh, this isn't aimed at U.S. citizens or anything. Like, basically, if you're just tuning in, you don't know what Jade Helm 15 is. This is supposed to be a 1-week operation set to take place in September of this year, 2015. In 7 different states, all in the Southwest. I believe it's Texas, California, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and
Nevada?
Oklahoma. Oh, no. No Colorado. Yes, Nevada and Oklahoma.
Okay.
So I'll double check that afterwards, but I think that's right. But anyway, they're running what's called RMT, realistic military training, in American towns, and they're basically, the military is going to roll in there. It's a joint forces training, so it's not just the Army; it's the other branches as well.
And local and incorporating local police. No.
Yeah, working in tandem with local police. This is what's this is the other side that I think kind of gets lost in the details, and they're basically like taking over towns, like arresting, doing simulated arrests of civilian populations, like potentially violent civilian populations.
Yeah, they have disaster actors, right? Stuff like that, or they might actually be military, police or something, pretending to be the opposition or something. And I believe Alex Jones, our good friend, had a couple clips that he was playing where they're actually saying, these actors that are on basically portraying U.S. citizens saying, I'm a sovereign citizen, I don't believe in you guys, which is, pretty. They're trying to paint us as the enemy. Once again, they're literally giving scenarios where there's these Tea Party type people rebelling against a military takeover.
Yeah, yeah. They're portraying people that you know re- refer to their constitutional rights as lunatics, like
Hmm.
fringe, potentially dangerous nutcases.
Constitutionalists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was the clip of that guy. I don't know if he was a colonel or what it was. There, I don't think he realized he was being filmed just because if you look at how the film, it looks like the guy's wearing a hidden camera or something. He has his iPhone in his
Yeah.
shirt pocket or something. But you know, the reporter, this woman's asking him, what is this all about? And he just straight up says, he's just like, I was like, well, to be honest, there's a lot of constitutionalists out there, people that stockpile weapons, and
Hmm.
they have a lot of ammunition. These people are potentially dangerous. We have to know how to deal with them. And I'm paraphrasing here, to take them out if necessary, and everything. And that is what this exercise is designed to do.
It's
And I have the map up here. Yes, it's Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. So yeah, that's
interesting.
it's 7 states in total. And then there's talk of it extending into other states. Like there's various maps going around with it, including Oklahoma and Florida as well.
Louisiana, the coast. Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like the ones that are the more recent posts about it are only focused in the Southwest and in Texas here.
And they're also, I mean, some of the other stories is that they're using, areas in California, areas in Nevada, and Texas for training, for military to kind of mimic um, other countries, I guess,
Because of the terrain and the desert and
yeah,
the
which is
mountains
kind of
there.
weird because we've been in those other countries for over 10 years now. So I don't know why we're training in Texas for that. But there's the whole thought process that maybe this isn't another martial law scare. It's actually just preparation for World War III or something that could lead to that.
Yeah, because that's a logical argument, but it's a little difficult to swallow when you think about all the very routine um, exercises they do in other countries all the time. Like there was this source I was looking at during the research for this show. There was like almost 620 exercises in 2014 in Africa.
Right.
As how many of those did you hear about in the news? Not many. And that is part of something I learned in a recently. The U.S. Army at least has reorganized itself somewhat so that it's smaller because of the budget cuts, like the sequestration.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically had their budget cut in half, and they have this concept called regionally aligned brigades, where they have like a brigade like at all times aligned with brigades about 5,000
Mm-hmm.
men, and that includes like tanks and whatnot, and a brigade at all times aligned with a geographic combatant command. And there's one or two for each continent, and there's U.S. Northcom, which is North America. There's Southcom, which is South America, Caribbean, and blah blah blah. UCOM, Europe. CENTCOM has been the big one for the past decade because that's Afghanistan, Iraq. That's where the lion's share of the attention has been going. So there's like there's a general of that geographic combatant committee. He's called Geographic Combatant Commander. Can be from any branch, and he's in charge of all military operations within that combatant command.
Okay.
So, like on paper, he's the guy that's overseeing Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation uh, whatever the one in Afghanistan was
Right.
called simultaneously. You following me?
Yeah.
So that, but in order to kind of make response time quicker and like give them more tools to work with, so to speak, in their words,
Mm-hmm.
they've begun aligning a brigade at all times with each geographic combatant command. So the commander of AFRICOM at any time, if he needs it, has 5,000 troops that he can theoretically draw from the U.S. and have them sent to deal with a problem. Or if, like, the Ethiopian government asks him for help, he can send them in.
Right.
Or they can provide flood relief, disaster relief efforts, blah, 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 blah. Again, all on paper. This is how it works. This is, U.S. Northcom, which includes the United States, is part of that, is a geographic combatant command, and they are not exempt from this. Obviously they're, I could be slurring the details here significantly. I need to research this more, but I'm just kind of connecting something I knew previously with this, the news about this Jade Helm operation. This could be, kind of an experiment to condition the public. Jade Helm 15. Yes, a PSYOP, psychological operation, to condition the public to become accustomed to seeing military personnel working in tandem with police on U.S. Streets, detaining U.S. citizens, things like that, and preparing them for when a brigade or a division or what have you that is aligned with U.S. Northcom is called in to put down a revolt or take over a city, like a major U.S. city or what have you. This is part of the conditioning.
So this is kind of like what they did with the Baltimore riots that took place recently. They had National Guard come in. They had curfews.
Yeah,
same like after the Boston bombing. They shut down Boston. They had the National Guard. They had military police go through.
Was that the National Guard at the Boston bombing, or was that someone else? I'm not sure.
I think that was police or state troopers or something like that. But I know that in Baltimore there was definitely the National Guard.
Well, I think that's not unprecedented. If like the governor calls in the National Guard, I'm not sure if the governor or like the mayor of Baltimore requested the governor send them in, because that's not entirely unheard of that the National Guard's called in if there's a really big riot. But I think with the Boston bombing, that was like the actual police, like the Boston PD had these like armored transport vehicles and shit, and no one knew that they had them until that day. And then suddenly you see like these military vehicles like thundering through the residential neighborhoods, and everyone's like, what the fuck is this? Why do they have this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, but it could all be part connected. It could all be
sure.
Conditioning the public.
Yeah. It's not going to be done exactly the same way in Maryland as it is in Massachusetts.
Right, but now that stuff goes mainstream. People see it, and maybe that makes them a little, I guess, I don't know if tone deaf would be the right word for that, but it makes them conditioned to that. They see it on TV. Oh, nobody got hurt. The government did the right thing. They stepped in. We'll just stay in our houses and not ask any questions.
Yeah.
I think that's a direction that the government's going, and I don't know. But I guess one of the fascinating things that we were researching before is that the Texas Guard, is that what it is? Or
the Texas State Guard.
Yes, that is absolutely fascinating, and I think it's probably unique to Texas.
It is. Texas is the only one that has
They have their own state, I guess, military, separate from the federal government, and the governor of Texas, under the pressure from the citizens, actually said to them, I guess, that we're going to deploy you, and just so you can keep a watch on the federal activities, or whoever comes in during the summer or September, we're going to be watching you to make sure things are kosher. So I thought that was amazing. You always think of Texas as the free state or the Lone Star State or whatever, but they literally have their own standing army, which is pretty incredible to think this day and age.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now because I wasn't aware of this until this story broke out as well. Texas State Guard is one of the 3 branches of the Texas military forces.
Do they have an Air Force too?
So, Texas Army National Guard, Texas Air National Guard, and the Texas State Guard. All 3 branches are administered by state adjutant. I was sorry. I have dyslexia today. But an appointee of the Texas governor under blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm trying to find out how many personnel, like what their manpower is.
Right.
But keep going. Like what it seems like this is like a throwback to the episode we did before. I think that was our 3rd episode about the
police
growing U.S. police state. Here we have the other side of the equation. It's the military factor at work here, and it's not just people becoming conditioned to seeing militarized police. They're becoming conditioned to seeing the military itself on the streets.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Hypothetical situation here.
Yeah.
Do you think, and I know it's been proven time and time again, but I find it very difficult or hard to kind of believe that the federal government could send troops in made up of individuals from different states, different backgrounds, and they would go in and fire upon free citizens of the United States, or go door to door and round up guns and stuff like that. I mean, I know we're skipping a few steps here, but what do you think? Do you think that that's actually possible? And what do you think the citizens' reactions would be to that? You always hear about people saying, "Oh yeah, well, I dare him to kick my door down. I'll shoot back." People don't even speak back to the police. Do you think they're really going to shoot back at an armored vehicle outside their house? I don't know what's going to happen, or I hope that it never gets to that point. But do you think that that's actually plausible? Do you think that U.S. citizens will fire on their own?
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, you can argue that things like that have been ordered in the past. I mean, I've reading right now about the bonus army from after World War One. There were some 43,000 marchers, including just under 20,000 World War One veterans, who gathered in D.C. back in 1932 to demand cash payment redemption of their service certificates. Those were their bonuses they were promised.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like there was some kind of holdup with them getting their payment, and they decided to take to the streets in D.C. and they began to clash with the police there, and the National Guard or the Army rather, was called in to intervene. It was actually commanded by George Patton. He was a major at the time, not a general yet.
Really?
And I'm trying to see if the Army actually fired on their own veterans.
Heard about that, yeah.
But that obviously this is an extreme example, but I think it's possible. You get a bunch of 18, 20-year-old kids, teach them how to use a gun. They think they're playing fucking Call of Duty or something, and you send them in, just tell them these people are dangerous, they're a threat to
national security.
Yeah. You need to take these people out, son. We're counting on you to do the right thing. Hoorah! And then they send them in, and kick a door down, go shoot a fence, clear a house. That's if the couple generation or two of training 18-year-old kids joining the Army to do this, they're gonna think that's normal. Like they're gonna think, oh, it's in national security interests. It's part of our job description to clear houses of weapons and to take down these, again, those dangerous constitutionalists, and people who harp on about how the government shouldn't be doing these things. So yeah, I think it's plausible. I think
What do you think the world would, the U.S. would be like
Yeah.
if that happened? I mean, you got to figure that there can't be a mass martial law takeover of the entire United States at one time. I don't think that's possible. So information would travel so quickly.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, let's
it's
say they do Jade Helm. Let's say this is real and they take over Texas. How would the neighboring states react? How would DC react? What do the senators from Texas do while they're in DC? Like how it's interesting to
I
see
don't.
like a new
Well,
civil
no.
war.
It's yeah. It's that's exactly what it would be. I mean, it's. I don't. One side of me is like the government doesn't have the manpower
Hmm.
to hold the United States. I mean, there's over 300 million people. There's something like 400 million guns in the United States, a lot of which are owned by, again, veterans or gun enthusiasts, people that have been trained in how to use them properly. I mean, this is the most heavily armed society the world has ever known. It would be essentially impossible for any army to really, it might be possible for them to invade their own territory and conquer it, but to actually hold it once they take it, that's a whole different ball game. Like occupying a place and holding on to it is much much more difficult than the initial assault on it. But the other side of me is like, American people are so soft and
Hmm.
spoiled. They
Hmm.
will just they're
Bend over and
yeah,
take it.
they're the frog in the slow boiling water. They'll just sit there and take whatever is thrown at them and just be like, oh, whatever, as long as I have
Tom Brady and
long as I have the NFL network and Pornhub and Dancing with the Stars, who gives a shit,
exactly.
But it's hard to say. If this happens, we'll see where everyone really stands. People will find out what they're really made of.
But
Uh,
I think it's going to be hardest because if this does happen, if there is a takeover, a major military takeover
yeah.
somewhere, who is going to fire that first shot?
Yes, I just said it. It's gonna be some trigger happy, stupid 18-year-old
I'm talking about that on the
kid in
opposition.
on the
Who
opposite.
is
I
going to
don't
stand up, and that will be the new shot heard around the world.
that
Because
that's
imagine
hard to
that.
say. That's gonna
Imagine
be
that.
situation dependent. I couldn't say. There could be some kind of thing where like they found some blogger they deem is dangerous
Hmm.
who's a gun enthusiast, and they surround his home or something. I could see something like that happening. I mean, that sort of thing has happened in Texas before. I mean, you could argue that's what Waco was. I mean, that had
Hmm.
a religious, like nutcase element to it as well. But I personally, I know this. We're using a lot of hyperbole here. I tend to agree with Alex Jones's recent statement about this. Is that I'm not convinced this is necessarily a takeover. Like this is it. Like this is the big uh, final move to do this. I think this could be just a big step forward in the conditioning. This is the again like a training exercise that's being done. So that way, when the next exercise, a bigger, more invasive one happens, everyone will be like, "Oh no, don't just relax. Don't you remember Jade Helm? Everyone was panicking about that. That was just a simple thing they did." But again, people are slowly being acclimated. You can condition people to accept anything if you do it gradually. It's it's like what David Icke calls
Oh God,
no
no!
no.
We
Let's
don't
stay
talk
with
about
me.
it.
Stay with me.
You
It's
got 5 seconds.
David
Go.
Icke's the totalitarian tiptoe. Is it 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step? Say it's slow. It's slow. It doesn't look like a pattern, but it's always going in that direction. It's all
Hmm.
power is being more and more solidified.
Says, God, coming from the guy who thinks that there's reptilian shapeshifters in U.S. government.
It's not just the U.S. government discovered here. I mean, we're talking the Rothschilds, the British royal family. I mean,
Okay.
who do you think's pulling the strings here? For God's sake!
Do you think that he's just describing Anunnaki as reptilian? Because perhaps if he is just describing the Anunnaki as being some sort of lizard-like being, then maybe he's correct. Because
I think it's a tomato thing. I think these are different names being applied to the same entities. Like these, the Anunnaki. Jesus Christ! In 30 seconds, we went from talking about
no,
a legitimate news story to Anunnaki reptilians.
I see a easy correlation between the two. Okay, this is as we look, we have to always go back to
who's
really
pulling
pulling the
here?
strings.
Yeah.
What's the ultimate goal?
Yeah.
The ultimate goal is a one world government. No cash money. Okay, it is a controlled currency and a one religion which worships Baphomet, Satan, Lucifer, whatever. And the means to get there, the way that we're going to get there is through martial law, a World War III, which will destroy all the countries, then bring them all together through a unifying government.
UN small arms ban.
Exactly. And, who knows? We could be 10, 15 years away from this.
This is the canvas that all of these little operations, Jade Helm, the Patriot Act, these are all the little characters being painted on.
And this is what goes on during the Bilderberg Group
by the hand of the grand architect there.
Yes, exactly. This is what the Shriners, the Masonic temples, this is what they're all conspiring for. They all have their...
I'm still not... You know what? I'm going to catch some hate from you for this. I'm still not... I am not convinced the Masons are a diabolical order. I'm not convinced. I'm researching it.
Okay.
More and more. Stop looking at me. No. Just listen. Listen. No.
If I don't show up on the next week's podcast,
we're gonna do a show just about the Masons.
Okay.
And you know what? I'd like to try and get one on to talk about this.
Oh, okay. See, pancake breakfast Mason on the show.
See how much he's willing to talk about. Because you said there's two different kinds of Masons. There are the everyday average Joe pancake breakfast Masons, the little Shriners driving around in their cars.
Mm-hmm.
There's that variety, like helpful old men in the community.
Right.
And then there's the dark, shape-shifting lizard men performing dark rituals in the pyramids. Masons who own the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
But
okay. We can't get into that right now. I expect better from you. Okay. I thought we went over this.
Mr. Revere, we're gonna do a show about this. I want you to go down I want you to explain your argument, because it's part of what's confusing me is it's so nebulous. I don't get the whole picture.
They don't want you to get
it.
The whole idea, and it's just like the police force, okay? The whole idea is this. There are these groups, okay, and probably a good 89, 90% of these people are just kind of stupid, okay?
Yeah.
But that 10%, they know. They're the 33rd degrees, okay? The real 33rd degrees, okay? These are the guys who are shaking hands with the Clintons, the Bushes, okay? These are the John Kerrys, the Skull and Bones folks, the Rhodes Scholars folks.
See, that's I'm on board with the Skull and Bones and everything.
What's the difference?
Because it's so elitist. There's so few of them. Like the Masons are such an enormous organization. They're in like 89 different countries. They have like millions of members. I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
All these people are to some degree, knowingly or unknowingly, part of this. Really?
Yes. How else do you scout people? How else do you scout?
Like screen them to see whether or not they're
they would be a good person to sacrifice children to Baphomet in the basement of a Shriner hospital. Where do you think all these kids' arms and legs go in those commercials?
Oh God!
They weren't amputated for reasons of ALS or whatever diseases that the Zionist doctors have told them that they have. These children, their limbs are being used to create mana to send to Baphomet and other dark spirits in the basement of Shriner hospitals.
Makes sense to me, folks. I don't know about you, but sounds like a perfectly logical and well thought out theory there.
Look, all I'm gonna say is prove me wrong. prove me wrong.
The burden of proof is on you.
Mm-hmm.
Jade Helm, guys. Jade Helm 15. This is an ongoing story. I know this. We've gotten off on tangents multiple times in this episode, and that's gonna happen on this show. We like to have fun here, but this is an ongoing story. This is not gonna go away. This is only gonna get bigger and bigger with each passing week leading up to September, until the government starts giving us something resembling an honest answer about why they're amassing troops in 7 different states, possibly using closed Walmarts as bases. There's I think 5 different Walmarts, which are all closing the same day this exercise begins. Oh wow, why is this? Allegedly, a bunch of weapons went missing.
From Halliburton,
from a Halliburton facility.
Phillips or what?
Yeah, which is adjacent to one of these Walmarts. So the theory is that they're being stockpiled there, and the Walmart's being used as a base for operations in that part of Texas.
Who's on the board of executives for Halliburton?
Halliburton. I know Dick Cheney has a lot of ties to Halliburton.
Yeah, Dick Cheney is in what other group? I believe he's in the Trilateral Commission,
the Council on Foreign Relations.
Mm-hmm, the Bilderberg Group.
Oh yeah,
frequent guest to Bohemian Grove.
That I'm not sure about. I'm not sure if he was ever spotted going in there. I'm sure I wouldn't surprise me at all if he did. But
I'm going to go ahead and guess that he is. Ronald Reagan was there.
Yeah.
If Ronald Reagan was at Bohemian Grove, something tells me Karl Rove is.
Yeah.
And Dick Cheney.
Karl Rove is he's got to be almost a high priest by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him and the other learned elders, these hatchet men of Moloch that you see on TV every night.
Oh God, there we go again on another tangent.
That wasn't a tangent at all. That was a factual observation.
See, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, you just had to break out of the shell here. Okay, you had to.
Oh, God.
It's like a muscle you need to stretch every so often. It's called. I don't know what it's called.
The muscle memory of freedom. There, you have to keep training.
Yes.
If you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah.
I would say that's true.
Civil liberties. If you don't use them, you lose them.
Exactly. Well,
that's true.
What I think
we're at just about 50 minutes here.
Yeah. I think we're gonna.
We've covered a lot. Yeah, we covered a lot on this show. We had some fun. We had some laughs. But again, this is going to be an ongoing thing. We're going to keep revisiting all summer, all the way up to September when this thing goes off. I think it could be fun to have a day-by-day coverage, or not fun, but necessary, for the freedom of the Republic, to have a daily broadcast, day by day, about what's going on with Jade Helm. Get in touch with contacts we have in those states. We know people in Colorado, in Texas,
yep.
California. They'll be able to give us firsthand accounts of what the fuck is going on out there.
We have a large staff of field reporters that will be able to get back to us.
We'll get some of them on it. But guys, it's been great. Thanks for tuning in once again. We do have the galleries of the Paraka skulls that I mentioned in our previous episode. That is up on the Facebook page right now. Give those a look. Have close-ups of the red hair and the skin that we mentioned on the previous
Irish giants
episode.
of Peru.
Yes, the Irish the
Anunnaki.
yes, the Irish Nephilim of South America. Their remains are on display in this gallery. We have close-ups of Brian Foster holding some of the skulls, unveiling they have a Star Child skull there. There are a couple of those in existence. The real famous one is from Mexico, I think, but there is one from Peru as well, and it's in their possession. So definitely check that out on Facebook. But guys, leave some comments, questions, complaints in the comments there.
Topics you guys want us to get into?
Yeah. And we will do our best to address those. That's all I got for tonight. Mr. Revere, anything else?
Let freedom reign.
Let freedom ring. And a delay caused by the computer going to sleep. That's all out. That's all, guys. Molon Labe. Come and take them. Good night.